Shoptalk section this month, we decided with the recent death of President Gerald Ford that we would read his autobiography. It's called The Time to Heal. And I realized, although I lived through his presidency, I knew very little about Gerald Ford or much about his presidency. I mean, I remembered the Watergate incident, as everyone does, but I didn't really know that much about the man.
I think that's how you remember him.
Yeah.
You remember him like in bullets. You don't remember him through his whole administration, which wasn't that long.
Right.
But still, you remember when...
And even in this book, he kind of glosses over his congressional years. This really is an autobiography from the time he became president until he was defeated in the succeeding election. But it's he's a very good writer. It was very much like sitting in the living room, talking to him,
asking him questions and
very
chatting with him.
conversational and very down to earth. He was very frank and open about how he felt about certain things. And I know at one point he was talking about Spiro Agnew being tapped for the vice presidency, and he said, "I just sat and shook my head in disbelief." He was very, very frank. But I thought it's a really good, in-depth perception of how he felt he did as a president.
Yeah.
I think he felt he did a good job.
Yep. And I think you will agree with him when you finish the book, or when you go through the book, because it just seems like, again, like you, I lived through that time, but except for the Watergate blips, I didn't. And of course, you know, there were problems with his wife's health, which he was very frank about. She was frank about it too when it first happened. But I mean, he was frank in bringing it out. What I was also not surprised at, but pleasantly surprised, was that he has a very dry wit. I mean,
his sense of humor,
comes out once in a while, which was interesting.
I think his honesty, I think, was the thing that came out the best. I mean, he knew that by pardoning Nixon, he was probably committing political suicide. But he really, in his heart of hearts, felt he was doing the right thing for the country. And by the time you read all of this, you begin to understand, or at least I understood better why he did what he did. So. And
you get from his writing his deep, deep love for this country. I mean, he really loved this country. Was absolutely a patriot.
Yeah, I think you know, I don't remember when he wrote this, but it was certainly sometime in the 80s, maybe late 80s. But you know, he was I think a good president, 38th president, as a matter of fact.
Right.
And although I was, as I said, I lived through his presidency. I was in college at the time. I don't know. I think when you're that age, you're not paying a lot of attention to world politics, and that was a tumultuous time.
And it made me go back too, because again, with the Watergate, you kind of remember bits and pieces of it. And he talks about a lot of political figures in the book, and a lot of them I didn't recognize their names. But you get to the Watergate section, and he starts talking about H.R. Haldeman. Remember him? He had and I was just visualizing them. He had the crew cut. Then you had John Dean. He had the round glasses, and his wife Maureen, which was that stunning blonde. Henry Kissinger, who was at his funeral, who was at President Ford's funeral. But I could vision all these people, and
I had really dismissed the 2 assassination attempts on him. Also, I'd totally forgotten those little blips
details
on the radar. So I recommend it.
I do too.
Yeah,
I think you would enjoy. You'd be very surprised, and really would enjoy his writing.
It's a good book.
Yep.
Give it a shot.